And we are live, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. I am sorry that I am a few minutes late. This has been kind of a um, crazy morning, but also this week's been kind of crazy. I've had a lot of meetings. I had meetings last Monday. I had a 3-hour meeting actually that interfered with the Lupus Live support chat. So I apologize for not being live with you last week. And then I had a meeting right before this. So yeah, whoever said summer is relaxing, lie. Summer is not relaxing. Summer is crazy. So I'm happy to be back with you today. I do have a little bit of noise outside my window. All of a sudden, I can hear some people working outside my window, so I apologize for that. I am coming to you from my home office here in Sherwood, Oregon, which is right outside of Portland Metro. Good morning, Carrie. Good to see you. As people start to log in, don't forget to share this chat on your personal Facebook page. It is June 30th. It's the last day of June. How is that even possible? I feel like we were literally just in the throes of May and Lupus Awareness Month. Now, tomorrow, it's going to be July. What the heck? It's so crazy. So crazy. The sun is out today here in the Pacific Northwest. We are having a little bit of a heat wave. I know, comparatively speaking, it's probably not that bad. Coming from Southern California, 85 degrees is nothing that others would find to write home about. But here in the Pacific Northwest, it's pretty hot for us. So we're just all getting ready for that coming our way. We've had a lot of back and forth weather. We've had rain and cold fronts and then hot days and then cold days. So yeah, we never know what's going to happen around these parts. We've got some stuff to talk about today, but before I get into it, let me just introduce myself. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. My name is Kelly, and I am the creator and executive director of this Portland-based nonprofit, More Than Lupus. I'm leaning this way because there is a sunbeam. See? Right there. Of course. Right in my face. So I'm doing the lean right now. I just want to mention, if you are unfamiliar with More Than Lupus, we are a multi-ethnic, multi-generational, and international lupus community designed by lupus patients to connect and to grow, and then hopefully inspire each other throughout the peaks and the valleys of our lupus journey. And I say "our" because I have lived with systemic lupus and multiple lupus overlap conditions since the age of 11. Someone the other day said to me, gosh, 11, can you even remember a time when you didn't have lupus and you didn't feel, the side effects of the disease and the medications? And I kind of paused and I went, no, really? I mean, I recall how my body felt unencumbered as a child because I used to dance. I took a lot of dance classes, and I remember the feeling of just feeling weightless, and that I could do the things that I told my body to do. Like if I said, Batma and kick really high, I could do that. Or if I, step, leap, sequence across the floors, I could do those things. And with the illness and the subsequent joint involvement and muscle involvement and obviously fatigue and everything else that comes with having lupus, I don't have that ability as much as I did back then. Thankfully, my mobility has been pretty stable the last few years, but I've had varying levels of mobility issues. I was in a wheelchair for 3 years and had armband crutches, and I've been used a walker. I had ankle flex orthodox on my legs. So anyway, circle back, I've had lupus since I was 11, and someone recently asked me if I could remember a time of not feeling the effects of my illness. And that's probably when I was taking DS class as a kid. Everything okay? Check the bed. Check the. Grace isn't outside, is she? Okay. One moment, please. One moment. Sorry, guys. Oh my goodness. So that was a little alarming. My son could not find one of our dogs. So I wanted to make sure, because we have people working around our house right now, that my dog didn't just escape. But no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And hello, we've got some people joining us today. Everything is fine. My son thought one of my dogs got out, but everything is fine. So anyway, I just want to say welcome if you're joining for the first time, and hello. At More Than Lupus, we believe that every person living with lupus, no matter their background, should be treated with equity and dignity and taken seriously. And it's our mission that patients feel heard, seen, and valued. And this is especially important if you are newly diagnosed or with lupus and you're just finding us. We see you. We know how overwhelming this can be. And if this is you, we highly encourage you to check out our blogs on morethanlupus.com. We've got new blogs coming out quite often, and because navigating this illness can be tricky, and we want you to be able to find the support that you need and meet you where you're at. We had our monthly support Zoom on Saturday, June 21st. And if you're not receiving our emails and you would like to be added to our email list, we really would love for you to know about these support groups. I get people emailing me daily asking about support groups, Zoom and in person. And these are happening very consistently, always the third Saturday of the month, unless something comes up and we have another event. And they're usually at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and they are open to everyone who has lupus or wants to support someone with lupus. So please, and our next in-person meeting will be this July, and we're going to do a picnic party. So we'll be announcing a location shortly, but that's going to be July 19th, and more information coming on that soon. So we have in-person and online support groups. Please join us. We also have our educational events that we do quite often in collaboration with Dr. Thomas, who wrote the Lupus Encyclopedia. And we have several of the most recent ones that he did up on our YouTube. First, we have the What People Need to Know to Live Their Best Life with Lupus. It was amazing. Also, the Getting to the Heart of the Matter and Lupus and Kidney Nephritis event up on our website too. They're incredibly informative, engaging events, so many pearls of wisdom, life-saving, life-enhancing pearls of wisdom to improving heart health and kidney health and living your best life with lupus. So check those out. He is a fantastic resource. He's such a friend to More Than Lupus. He's done so many events with us, and I couldn't be happier to collaborate with him on all of these educational events. So before I go any further on today's topic, let me give you a brief disclaimer. since I tend to get ahead of myself, and lupus fog is a real thing. So here we go. Also, if you're joining, please let us know where you're joining from. If you have lupus or another lupus-like condition, or you're here to support somebody, and how you're doing. So, more than lupus, the Facebook Lupus Life Support Chats are aimed to be a positive and open space where you can both give and receive support and encouragement from others. I am not a doctor. We're not doctors here. Therefore, I cannot give you medical advice or diagnose symptoms that you may be having. We consult with doctors. Dr. Thomas is often on with us, but he can't even act as giving you medical advice because he's not acting as your personal physician. What we can do, though, here is provide you with information and resources that hopefully you can in turn take back to your doctors and have an open and honest conversation about what is the best course of action for you in your unique one-of-a-kind lupus journey. Additionally, this group is intended for those living with lupus or lupus overlap disease. It's also intended to provide support and encouragement to those who know someone living with lupus, a friend, a family member, a coworker, a loved one, a neighbor. However, if you don't fall into those two categories, this is not the right chat for you. So please keep all comments positive. Any inappropriate material will be deleted. Sometimes this chat gets shared in spots that it shouldn't be shared, and I see it, I will get rid of it, and I will tell you my famous catchphrase: don't engage, refresh your page, right? Yes, so all you need to do, and it will be gone. Okay, let's see. Hello, Hope. Good to see you here. Want to remind you once again that the more you care, the more you share, and the more other people are aware. It never ceases to amaze me how, there we go, got rid of that beep, how people find us and right at the time that they need us the most. And they do that, they find us because you're sharing our infographics, you're sharing these chats, you're sharing our blogs, our website, word of mouth, and it does make a difference. So the more that you care, the more you share, the more other people are aware. And the goal is that no one feels alone in this journey, right? Okay, this is a heavy topic today. Let's get right to the point here. June is Men's Health Month. June is Pride Month. June is Migraine Awareness Month. And it's also, how many things can this be in this month, right? It's also PTSD Awareness Month. So today I'm going to talk about a type of post-traumatic stress disorder called medical PTSD. And I know this is a tough topic, and I want to be sensitive to those listening and acknowledge that if this is triggering, it is okay to step away. It's okay to turn this off. Listen to your body, listen to your nervous system, and please always, always consult with a counselor or a professional for additional support around these feelings and this topic. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about my personal journey with medical post-traumatic stress disorder. For most of my life, I worked kind of hard to distract myself when I would feel certain triggers, because I would see vignettes of traumatic memories flicker in my mind through my own personal experience with things that happened when I was a child in the hospital. I also know that with any trauma, there's often more than one person that can be wounded. So I especially want to be sensitive to my mother's feelings and her lived experience through this painful time as well. But I hope that by sharing my experience, I've done so before online and reading this on my blog, that maybe someone may feel validated. So I prefer not to get into all the details of what happened, but I remember feeling my heart racing every time he walked into my hospital room. I remember the pain and the fear I felt when he grabbed my wrist and yanked the phone out of my hand while I was having a conversation on the phone with my grandmother. I remember his words that were very shaming. He told me I was faking, that this is all in my head. I remember him forcing me to crawl to the communal shower on the children's floor of UCLA Medical Center because he had taken away my wheelchair. I remember I wanted to die because this man had made my life hell on earth. And this man inflicted terror on my 13-year-old self. And you would think maybe that this person was a criminal or a abusive boyfriend or family acquaintance, but no, this man was a medical doctor, a medical doctor, a man that had an MD stitched after his name, a name that I don't like to repeat because just pronouncing it in my mouth makes me feel scared and nauseous. A man with a lot of power, a lot of pride, and he was kind of set on a purpose, on a mission to make me part of his research project. He captured me and enrolled me in his quest to further his controversial behavioral studies. These same studies would later cause him to lose his medical license and face charges in court for his unethical practices. And his acts were so unethical and egregious that there was, there's probably more than one, but there was an entire Dateline special that was dedicated years ago to exposing him. And it allowed then for multiple victims a platform to tell their story on primetime television of what he did to them. So it was a medical doctor who took an oath not to harm me, and he did. He did. And the trauma that I experienced at 13 as a child would follow me in very interesting ways throughout my lupus journey. For example, I found it unnerving to step into a teaching hospital. I still do. We have a big teaching hospital here on the hill, OHSU. I don't like going there. It sits on a hill, and it reminds me of UCLA. I still find it difficult to be treated by white doctors, white male doctors. No offense if you're watching this and you're a white male doctor. But in fact, the only time I felt comfortable with being treated by white male doctors where it happened pre-trauma. This trauma that happened with this doctor, I was one of many victims, but also planted deep seeds of self-doubt, indignity, and degradation. I distinctly remember when my new rheumatologist sat me down and talked to me about my lupus diagnosis and my lab results, and my new rheumatologist kind of went through everything and my medication protocols, plan of action. And I remember them like going, oh my gosh, I'm going to be treated appropriately. I'm going to, I mean, is this okay? Like, I felt undeserving of being treated with the care that I needed. I felt shocked that a doctor cared. After my horrific experience prior. And due to the trauma the abuser inflicted, I still question my worthiness at times to be treated at legitimate hospitals and to see compassionate doctors and to be given appropriate and necessary lupus treatment. So a medical doctor at a prestigious medical hospital caused these traumatic feelings of shame and inadequacy and unworthiness. And that, my friends, is part of what we are talking about when we talk about the many instances that medical post-traumatic stress disorder can present and how it can manifest into this type of experience in your life. So, have you ever experienced a traumatic medical event or been traumatized by a medical professional or an experience? If you have, you are not alone. And maybe you're reading this and you feel those little hairs standing up on the back of your neck because you never considered yourself maybe a victim of a trauma, or you don't like those words or that language. Maybe you've never accepted the idea that whatever happened to you was not your fault. Or maybe it's just too shameful or scary to lean into, and you don't want to talk about it. Wherever you are, I understand. I've been all over the place regarding this. Some people just want to move on. They want to forget it. They don't want to think about it. But then you wonder why you get anxious. At times when maybe you're asked to wear a hospital gown, or you wonder why your palms are sweating when they're taking your labs, or why certain sights or certain smells, having your blood pressure taken, and the beeps of a hospital give you worry, anxiety, and even panic. So that is kind of what I'm going to talk a little bit more about, and that is specifically how medical PTSD can present. So medical post-traumatic stress disorder is a type of post-traumatic stress disorder that develops as a result of a medical diagnosis, maybe a procedure, an error, a trauma, and it's a stress disorder. It's a little different than the more commonly known PTSD. It is usually brought on by an external trauma, such as an assault, natural disaster, stress-inducing event. Though less familiar, medically induced PTSD, it's much more common than people think. In 2017, there was a study by Clinical Psychiatry News that estimated that PTSD occurs in 25% of all people who experience a potentially life-threatening medical event. 25%. What this means is, statistically, if you have 4 people in a room who live through a life-threatening illness like lupus, at least one of the 4 has experienced or continues to experience medical, really loud outside my window, PTSD. And that's a very striking statistic, and that's relatively common, and it's something that we rarely talk about. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. It doesn't have to be, medical PTSD does not have to be from an external trigger. Like my experience at 13, it could be a combination of factors, or as it was stated in a study, medical illness-related PTSD is more of a somatic source. The trauma tends to be chronic, and the thoughts are often future-oriented. In this study I read, this doctor said, it's not uncommon that I'll hear my patients with medical illness-induced PTSD say, I'm really scared my disease is going to get worse. So feelings are aroused by internal triggers, fear of the future, the anxiety of living with an unpredictable, uncontrollable variable like lupus in your life, okay? And if you are hearing me say these words and you're nodding because you recognize these thoughts, then you're in the right place. And maybe it isn't lupus that's causing these extreme feelings of anxiety, but maybe it was a birth experience, a long stay at the ICU, or a medical professional, like what happened with me. It caused your medical PTSD. Whatever the case, it's important for you to acknowledge it and to take the lid off that dusty box in the attic where you have stored away your feelings for a long time, and take your life back, take the power back from that. So how do you hopefully process these feelings and your thoughts if you believe that you are living with medical post-traumatic stress disorder? You know, as I said earlier, I'm not a medical professional. I am not a mental health care provider. I cannot tell you what's going to work best for you and your unique experience. But what I want to do is kind of give you a starting point or a guide at some of the most commonly used techniques to process and heal medical post-traumatic stress disorder. So there's a lot of things that you can do to hone in, whether this is medical post-traumatic stress disorder, or maybe it's another anxiety disorder, or what may be the root of your anxious or intrusive thoughts. There's different stress responses that your body can show you or you can feel internally that can signify that you are living with some level of medical post-traumatic stress disorder. There's no shame to needing extra help with coping after a trauma. In fact, getting help and talking to someone is being healthy and proactive to move forward to living your best life. Re-experiencing is something that's quite common if you indeed have medical post-traumatic stress disorder. So re-experiencing is when you start thinking a lot unwanted, intrusive thoughts about the illness or the injury or the procedure or the interaction with the doctor. And when that happens, that you get reminders of what you felt like. You can feel distressed. You can have nightmares or flashbacks or what I call vignettes or pictures of a memory. Sometimes, if not you actually experiencing it from your perspective, but it's like a bird's eye perspective. That's kind of a type of when you remove yourself to protect yourself in avoidance or So anyway, avoidance is also another thing that can happen with medical post-traumatic stress disorder. Avoiding talking about what happened, the illness, the injury, the hospital, the things that you did or encountered with the doctor, the test, displaying less interest in usual activities, feeling emotionally numb or detached from others. That's a part of medical post-traumatic stress disorder. Or there's the opposite, where instead of feeling numb, you're hyper-aroused. You could have increased irritability. You can feel on edge. You can scare really easily. Hypervigilance, expecting danger around each corner. Exaggerated startle response. That happens to me sometimes. Other reactions with medical post-traumatic stress disorder: new fears that are related to a medical event, headaches, stomach aches, high blood pressure, fast heart rate, feeling in a daze or spacey, having memory problems. All of that can be related to medical post-traumatic stress disorder. And if you're experiencing some or any of the above sensations, and you can kind of, in however form, kind of saying, I think this may be related to that, or a sequence of events, or whatever the case may be, it's really important, as I mentioned earlier, to reach out to a medical professional and mental health provider, and they can talk you through some therapeutic suggestions on what's going to be the best way for you to process that in a healthy way. Some of these things, not all work for everybody, and everyone is going to have to talk to professionals about what is the best course of action for them. But counseling, in order to release that shame, release the feelings of having to hide something that may have happened, you have to be able to say it out loud. Grief must be witnessed, acknowledging that what happened was not your fault. And though you've been changed by the experience, you don't have to be a slave to your feelings about it. A professional mental health provider can help you walk through your experience through cognitive therapy, exposure therapy, EMDR, which is eye movement, desensitization and reprocessing. There are support groups that are also very helpful. And then, of course, self-care. And self-care is something that you can do to be proactive, making sure that you have good sleep hygiene, eating a well-balanced diet, getting appropriate exercise, being out in nature, doing the things that you know that help your nervous system relax. Try not to turn to numbing factors like recreational drugs or obsessive alcohol, or looking at things that you know you shouldn't be looking at, whatever the case may be, addictive behaviors. Turning to things that numb you out and numb your feelings is not the healthiest way to go. Even though it may be tempting to do that, it can lead to more problems down the road and interfere with effective treatments and prevent real healing. So remind yourself that these feelings and processing your trauma can take time. Show yourself grace. Learn more about medical post-traumatic stress disorder and whether it's something that you feel like you are going through. And most importantly, remember that you are not alone and there is help out there in many different forms. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. I'm very thankful that few of you who stuck through this. I know this is a heavy topic, and once again, if you needed to step away, I completely understand. Be kind to your nervous system today as you think through maybe some things that might be triggering to you and need time to process. And I'm thankful to those that watch this here on Facebook and on YouTube for allowing me a safe space to share a glimpse of my personal experience with medical post-traumatic stress disorder. And as we are on this last day of the month, as June being PTSD Awareness Month, I contemplated not talking about this. I've shared this before. And when I do share it, sometimes I disassociate a little bit in order to be able to talk about it. So I've done a lot of processing through these years of trying to figure out my self-worth and to not allow a perpetrator to determine my identity and my worth. So I appreciate the time to go through this again. And I want to be very gentle with all of you who may be watching this, who are either have been through something like that, or hopefully not, but could possibly be in the throes of something as well right now. So I hope that you feel that you have people in safe spaces that you can share your experience and get the help that you need to live the best life that you can with lupus. So that is all that I have for you today. I have my family here home with me today, and my son is home from camp, so I'm going to log off a few minutes early. But thank you again for sharing this chat, and please go ahead and share this places that you know would be helpful, people to get connected into the fold of community. And I hope you enjoy this week. I'll be back with you next week. And I will have more information regarding our More Than Lupus summer picnic in July. So take care, guys, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye for now.